Yep. I was a contractor. I'll start out. If you don't know who I am, my name's Craig. I'm with Tilebar. I'm the technical director. What does that mean? I was a commercial tile contractor for 20 plus years. So I've installed just about any type of tile, stone. I've done it wrong. And so I've learned. And so now my passion is teaching the right way to do it and trying to help other installers, designers come up with the right way. So when you get that call, you're working on that big project, right? And the 25-year-old punch list manager calls you and says the tile's done, right? And so now you're going to go to the job site. You've got this with you. So you walk the job site with this young kid, and he's got his iPad, and he's checking things off. And you go into the bathroom because you specified this amazing Tilebar tile. I noticed today while listening, I'm not promoting a product today, so this is my pitch. Tilebar is the best. So, so you walk into the bathroom of this building that's almost finished. Now it's a little dark in there because it's not done yet. They're not finished yet, but the tile is done. So you're in there. There's the one OSHA standard light bulb hanging from the yellow thing, and it's enough. So you look around, you're like, oh yes, this floor. It's exactly what I envisioned. You look on the walls. Okay, they didn't put the partitions up yet, which is a blessing, right? Because now you don't have to go in and out each door to look at the wall tile and use your blue tape. And you're like, okay, it's good. You do all 12 floors, you're happy. You're like, that's good. And you mentioned to the young kid, you're like, hey, it's a little dim in here. And he said, yeah, it is. This is kind of what we had. But the tile guys, they brought in their own stand light. That's how they installed the tile. But when they got finished, they took it with them. And you're like, that's a good idea, more light, better. And so you go on about your business. You leave. You feel accomplished. You only used half a roll of blue tape on all 12 floors, which that's good for this contractor because you've worked with them before. You get home. You think all's good. A few weeks later, they call you up, the building's complete. CO is what, 2 days away? Now let's punch out all 12 floors, all materials, and let's get it going. Well, you're not worried about the tile because you already walked it. And so you go to the job, you walk into the first bathroom, and it's not like this anymore, it's like this. And you've got your wall wash lights that you specified that now is shining down on that tile that you loved a few weeks ago, and it looks kind of like a horror show. You remember when you're a kid, you walk around at Halloween, you take the flashlight and you hold it under your face. I was supposed to have one, but I didn't bring it. And you still do that. Even Cher, a lot of y'all are similar. Cher from Clueless. What she said, she leaned up against the wall and she said, oh my gosh, did I stumble into some bad lighting? If you don't know the movie, you should watch it. Cher even knew how lighting affects things. Now, whose fault is it? Now, as a contractor, it was my fault. I was responsible for this installation looking like this, and now the shadows are showing lippage that you didn't see in the other lighting. The shadows are showing other inconsistencies in the tile. And if you know tile, no tiles are perfect. They're not flat. They're not square. Now, we do have a book. This is the ANSI book, if you don't know that. ANSI A137.1 gives you some guidelines on how flat your tile needs to be, on how square your tiles need to be. There's charts in there that can tell you how to measure it. Now, as a contractor, I used to have to fight that battle. The tile's defective, Craig. Why did you install defective tile? So then I take the tile and I'm like, crap, is it defective? I didn't buy it from Tilebar, so maybe it is. And then I take my measurements out there and I measure it. What's not? And most of the time, I'll say 90 to 95% of the time, the tile was in spec, the wall was in spec, but I didn't have the critical lighting installed when I did the tile work. So therefore, I didn't know what I was going to get when I was done. So whose fault is it? Well, education is what it comes down to. And you guys are learning today. I appreciate you being here. This is what I do day in and day out. I love talking about this. I love teaching other people about it, even though whether they're a customer or not. But learning about how to design for what you want within the parameters of the material that you've chosen. I used to talk to my GCs, and anytime I had a project that had wall wash lighting, I would put in my contract as an addendum that permanent lighting needed to be installed before I would start work. Now that's a hard thing to do as a general contractor, right? That's hard. Because you got one thing, logistics of getting the lighting. You know, lighting normally comes in way after the tile's done. Also, getting somebody to agree to that was hard. But so then there's got to be a compromise. But what that did is it started a conversation. The conversation was, I knew I was going to run into this situation with this design. Let's talk about it before we're trying to get our CO and we've got 4 rolls of tape on the wall. So that's what started the conversation. Okay, so is the design, can I take my lights and move them away from the wall? That's a possibility. What does that do for us? So if you move your lights 8 to 10 inches away from the wall, look at the difference it makes and how it does. Now, obviously, this is a demo I made in my garage. And
I was going to ask you where you made it.
yeah.
How was the lighting?
But my wife was so happy to see me leave with this in the car. And my son said, he drove me here, he said, is it going back with us? And I'm like, maybe we can give it away as a raffle. Lisa, can you work that out? But there is a major difference when you move the light just 8 inches away from the wall. The critical lighting is what happens when you take and you shine it at a really sharp angle. If you've ever done floor tile in a large lobby that's got the sunrise coming up, that sun will come across your floor and do the exact same thing. And if you don't plan for that as an installer or a designer, knowing where your critical lights are happening, it can cause havoc on your installation. Anybody know what the appropriate lippage that is accepted by the industry?
On the wall or on the floor?
If I'm not mistaken, they're the same. 32nd of an inch. And a 32nd of an inch is really not that difficult to achieve if you got a qualified installer. I tell my team this all the time. Qualified installer, a flat substrate, and relatively flat tile. You can get a really flat installation. This installation here, excellent. It's a 18 or 24 with a 1/8 inch or 3/16 grout joint, which is plenty. Use leveling spacers, you can make it almost dead flat. Now, if I took a flashlight and shined it across the floor, guarantee you'd see shadows. The angle of the light matters. And so if you can't move it out of the way, if you can't move it forward, having it there during installation or a representative of it, I've taken and asked, okay, you can't install this, I'm going to go to Home Depot and we're going to put together some strip lighting and we're going to hang it there. And then I want you to punch out my work in the light that I did. Now, who's going to punch out the work like this? Nobody. No architect, no designer is going to walk into a room with that dim light bulb and accept this finally.
But are both of those fixtures the same exact light fixtures in your model?
They're the same exact intensity. One is a little bit shorter. This one's longer. This one's shorter. But
I'm sure you're not doing a sleight of hand.
no sleight of hand. And when we're done, I'll even move them if you want to. Because, like I said, we're going to throw this away at some point in time. So there's a couple things you can do as a team, and that's what you need to look at your GC, designer, and tile installer as a team. Let's get together. Let's solve this before it's a fire. And so that's when we ask, hey, can we move it out? We move it out to this.
Looks great.
Ton of difference. Better. You maybe could even...
No blue tape on that?
No blue tape on this wall at all, except for those grout pinholes. It was bad. That's my fault. But we have to understand that when an installer comes to a project, they want to get their work done. And they're going to probably do whatever they have to do. And if that means bringing in this stand light to get their work done, they don't want to get yelled at by anybody. Their boss, the GC, why haven't they started yet? We've given you the appropriate OSHA lightings. Nobody's talked about it until day one. And that's not when you want to have the conversation. So there's a ton of information online everywhere about critical lighting, but until you see it for yourself and kind of compare it side to side, it makes a little bit bigger of a difference. Anybody have any questions before I finish up? Anybody?
Now, did you install it with a headlamp, like a little headlamp in your garage? Because that's what it looks like when you have the light right at them.
Yeah. This was
You
in.
had to try hard to get it to look there, right?
Yeah. This is not my best work.
Yeah. But you didn't want it to be, right? Then it wouldn't have-
I really just need to finish fast, Mike. But it was actually installed over a overhead light in my garage. That's how it was installed. But I was pleasantly. It did fit what I wanted to talk about once all was said and done. How many of you had this situation happen? All the time?
I've seen another problem.
Huh?
I've seen another problem.
What's an?
The light is good, but me as a homeowner, if I see the fourth line from the bottom, the cross joint is jumping, I would not accept that.
Well, we're not talking about that. How did you solve it? How have you solved it?
Well, I didn't know. I didn't realize. I mean, I've seen it now, but I didn't realize that light was the culprit.
Yeah,
Like I'm just now realizing that light could be the culprit. I
could
didn't
be.
know that.
Absolutely. Anybody else have how you said you had it? What did y'all do?
Mine is the GC actually was going through Xing tiles because there was way too much lippage.
Yeah.
It was an install issue.
Yeah. So it ended up being an install issue. Yeah.
We moved lights.
Yeah. Moving lights helps. And I tell you, if you have a really good reputable company, they'll come in and measure the lippage. And if there's not a friendly situation there, it can get touchy. But
Are they doing it with a 4-foot level?
when you measure lippage, there's two ways, and they're really kind of out of the pocket ways. If you have 2 dimes, nobody has change anymore. But if you have 2 dimes and you rub it from joint to joint, 1 dime sticks and the other slides across, pass. 2 dimes stick, fail. So you can do the same thing with a credit
Next time you do, now you're going to take dimes.
or a credit card. A credit card will do the same thing.
Or a credit card.
But dimes are really easy. But who can find dimes anymore? I hear they're out of change.
He'll be there with his credit card and then the chip doesn't work
Yeah.
anymore.
It changes the color too. I mean, the color seems.
Yeah, the brightness, and that is one of the things that we deal with a lot is we have perfect lighting on our website for our pictures. And you go home and your temperature of your light's different, the color changes tremendously. Tremendously. Any more questions? I got one final story.
I want to see the dime test.
I didn't bring any dimes.
Yeah, you got a credit card?
I tested all of these. They all passed.
Credit card? Anybody?
They all passed.
I got some change.
It's hard to do with a cushioned edge tile, with a square edge tile.
Yeah, is that really going to work on this tile?
It probably won't. All these are going to pass.
I was going to say that because it's smooth, right?
Yeah.
That way.
Yeah.
What do you think he was going to roll it?
I didn't understand what it was going to do.
Yeah.
What, you thought you were going to leave it here? Let it go. Oh, yeah, it all passed.
No, yeah.
It all passed.
No, I didn't know.
Yeah. The thing is, you just push it and see. But one of the other
Bumpy, I get it.
that tile, it's bumpy and it's got a cushioned edge, like here. Ugh. I don't know who installed this, but we maybe. So one stuck. So that's acceptable. Don't say, that's acceptable.
Okay.
So here's the thing, Craig. If if a designer doesn't want the light out here, though,
Yeah.
right? Because if that's the easy answer,
Yep.
move the light out. But if they want that,
Then we need to be able to set the tile based on that light.
yeah.
And we need to, and then we also need to, as soon as we finish one wall, have somebody come and look at it. and saying this is
Agree,
the
this is the
this is the
standard that we're
best
gonna
we can do in the conditions we have.
This is a
Absolutely.
tough tile to do.
That
what
is
you're
tough.
asking it to do.
Yeah.
This is Tilebar tile?
That is Tilebar tile. That is, I don't know what it is, but
Yeah.
but also the size of your grout joint helps too. The wider the grout joint, the more forgiveness it is.
Yeah.
I love 3/16 of an inch. I'm hated by most architects because they want a 1/16 of an inch, which is actually the recommendation this year is changing to an 1/8. Just so you know. But 3/16 of an inch is really, that's what this is, and it's a great looking tile joint. And once again, it comes to 3 factors: the quality of the tile, the flatness of the substrate, and the competency of the installer. If you have all 3 of those, you can get a 1/16 of an inch grout joint. If you don't have all 3 of those, you can't. So those are the things. My horror story that I have about this is we were doing a project that had some undulated tile, kind of like this, 40-foot wall, 40-foot tall lobby wall, scaffold installed, looked wonderful. The sun is shining in from the front of the building, amazing. They put these row of high-intensity lights at the very top to shine down, and it almost created like a piece of artwork. But because the designer's vision, they wanted a flat-looking wall, and it was in and out all over the place. Was it in spec? For the most part, yeah. We had some pieces that weren't in spec, and we did replace them, but it was a nightmare for remobilizing. And because we felt like we'd done the right thing, you know, we had to check every piece. We replaced what was out of spec, what was in spec. They ended up changing the intensity of the lights and was able to live with it. But that's kind of how it happens. And so I encourage you to think about when you're designing your bathrooms or whatever you're doing, think about the lighting plan and how that's going to affect your system on the end. And get with your wonderful Tilebar rep, Lisa, or whoever else serves you in your area, and she can help you figure it out and get you to where you want to go. Plug, yeah, I'll try to get as many plugs as I can. But if you ever have questions about installation, design, that's what I'm here for. That's what I love to do, and it doesn't have to be a Tilebar product. My goal for the tile industry is the more we know, we raise all boats.
She's saying yes it does.
Yeah, we raise everybody up. So if you need to contact me, my email is ccahoon@tilebar.com. You can find me on Instagram. Tile Nerd Army is who I am on Instagram. If you want to watch some long form stuff just like this, that'll be here. YouTube Tile the World, and Tilebar sponsors all of this because we believe the more we learn, the more we know, we're going to tile the world together. I'll take any questions. I'll stay here as long as I got a 12-hour drive and I'm not looking forward to doing it. So probably that guy. Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. Absolutely. Yeah. And if anybody wants this, you can take it home with you. Is that all? Everybody? Please participate.
Come on, Sarah.
All right, go on, Lisa.